Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the greatest podcast that nobody is talking about. Welcome to the Geeks and the Noobs. Ugh. Hey everyone. Um, welcome to the podcast, Lily. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah. So happy New Year, everybody.
Yay.
Let's go ahead and get the fun business out the way.
Happy New Year. I've had a
Yeah.
great start to the year. I have a cold.
Just a cold, ladies and gentlemen. Just a cold. Let's get ahead and clear that up before all that blows up out of proportion.
I
Um,
feel great.
'Tis the season to feel shitty. Um, but it is what it is. But it is Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022.
Yeah.
New Year, new me? No, probably not. I'm at this point in my life. I'll be 40 this year. There's no new me.
Too
Um,
late.
it's just not. Yeah, it's not happening. Um, welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, please like, subscribe, follow. If you're here on Twitch, welcome, welcome, welcome. You can chat with us right in the chat, and we'll see it in real time. If you're on YouTube watching us live, you can also chat, and I will see it in real time. So that's great too. Um, why is my computer talking to me? Stop it! Don't do that. Go away. Um, like I said, if you could follow us on Twitch, that'd be great. If you could subscribe, that'd be even greater. Just $4.99 a month helps us out immensely. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, you can make Jeffrey Bezos pay for it. So make him pay for it. He
Make
has enough money.
Jeffrey Bezos
Make him
pay
pay
for
for
it.
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even require you to pee in a bottle in a warehouse. If you know anything about Amazon, you know what I mean. Um,
Jeffrey Bezos.
I say that as I do my shopping
Bezos.
almost primarily on Amazon, so I'm a hypocrite. But whatever. You can't beat 2-day shipping. But yeah, so have Jeff pay for it if you want to do that. Also, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/the Geeks and Noobs. Starting at just $3 a month, you will have access to every single podcast. Starting with this podcast, there will be clips and highlights on YouTube on Mondays, but you will get those clips and highlights immediately on the Patreon. You will get first dibs on all other videos that go on the YouTube channel first. You also have 24/7 access to our merch store. Now, if you want merch right now, you can scroll down to just below our About section on Twitch, and there's the merch store. It's available to you right now, but it's only available during episodes. Or if you're a Patreon, you can have it 24/7. So that is something you can do too. Now, normally I would be wearing my Geeks and Noobs podcast hoodie, but I am terrible at laundry. So I'm wearing a Dungeons and Dragons hoodie instead.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
still wearing the Athena hoodie. I love this so much. It's awesome. Yeah.
please refer to last episode to understand why she said still. Um,
Yeah, true.
Speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, before we get into the subject for today, we've talked about it before. It's something we're going to talk about again. We do want to run a tabletop game on the channel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to use what's called the Fantasy Flight Games system.
Ooh.
So anybody who's into tabletop games might know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just look up Fantasy Flight Games. It is a kind of a simplified version of Dungeons and Dragons. So instead of rolling like all these different types of die for like D20s and D12s and whatever, it's a much more simplified version of the game. It makes it a little bit easier to run. It makes your games not as long. It makes it easier to have different campaigns throughout a year. So that's something we're going to look into too. Now, as it is 2022, we have a whole lot on the slate coming up this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Morbius was delayed once again.
Mm-hmm.
Was coming out this month. Now it's not coming until April 1st, which
Wise
feels...
decision though.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people, if you go on TikTok, you see the amount of people debating and theorizing as to why it was moved. But let me give you the real reason why. And I've only seen one other creator actually hit this. So shout out to Jay Stoobs. It's COVID. It's just COVID. The Omicron variant has created our largest spike in COVID cases since the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've just had to understandably be like, okay, let's roll it back just a little bit more. Let's try to get through this, especially coming out of the holiday. Let's not make it worse. So they rolled it back. That's all. But The other rumor to go along with that, which would be on the good news side if it is true, is that Moon Knight is rumored, and I say rumored, so please take this with a huge grain of salt. Rumored to be premiering on Disney Plus in February.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't be too long without something cool like that. For Marvel side of things. But on
Yeah.
DC side, starting next Thursday, not tomorrow, but next Thursday, the Peacemaker series hits HBO Max.
Yes.
So starring Mr. Invisible himself, John Cena,
Yeah.
who, just on a personal note, I've had the opportunity to meet. I actually met him in the locker room at a WWE event that I was working a dark show at. This was 2007. And then I met him again when I was in the Army because they were doing the tribute for the troops, and he did a signing at the dining facility that I was working at as an Army cook. So I've met him twice, and he is quite honestly one of the nicest people I've ever met. Uh, for such a guy, I mean, when I met him, he was the world champion, one of the biggest guys in the company ever, and still just the nicest guy. And then again, when I met him when I was in the Army in 2012, I want to say it was. That was December of 2012, I want to say. Again, just gracious guy, all about the fans. Really good dude. So I'm excited for this series for him. Nice having a vehicle like this for him to be starfront at the forefront as the star is the proper
Yeah.
way to say that.
I wanted to mention earlier, uh, even though we've got this back and forth between what's going on in the Marvel world and the DC world, I mean fandoms. Let's not forget that there's so much coming out with Star Wars soon. We have the Book of Boba Fett series that just began. I think we have episode 2 now. I can't remember. I saw the first episode. Fantastic. But especially when you talk about everything that's on Disney Plus now, Marvel and Star Wars should be back to back, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
everything is going one after the other. So
there's truly a ton of stuff going on out there. We're good in every aspect of the word as far as fandoms go. So I mean, like, and we've waited this long for so many things. Waiting till April for Morbius, which is a film that I'm still kind of on the fence on.
I'm
Um,
excited.
I mean, this last trailer that came out made me really excited. So it looked
Hmm.
really good. So I'm hoping that they kind of keep that up to the film. But we know how trailers can be. So who
Yeah.
knows? Sony also doesn't have the best track record when Kevin Feige's not involved. Um, but we're not talking about that. We're actually gonna go back and revisit James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, in preparation for Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Um, DC's also kind of picked up in the news lately because another rumor has been out from, well, I'll just say it, from an unreliable source, but unfortunately it's gaining a ton of traction. Uh, Bob Fred, thank you for chatting. You said, I've been waiting to watch Book of Boba Fett with a buddy of mine. Well, we're
I
definitely
feel
not.
that.
We're not going to talk about it, so we're not going to ruin it for anybody, especially since
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Hmm.
I keep meaning to, but I've been doing so much other stuff that I keep losing track of what I want to do, and I don't write anything down because I just don't.
I feel
Um,
that though. There have been times where I waited to watch an entire series so that I could binge it all in one
yeah.
or watch it in tandem with a friend. So I feel that. Good on you. But avoiding those spoilers is going to be so difficult.
Uh,
Anywho.
but yeah, so there's been the rumors recently about how the Flash movie is going to erase all of Zack Snyder's films from continuity. And I'm just here to tell you that's not happening. Um, and the reason I say it's not happening is because while this film may move the future of DC movies in a new direction, they're never going to erase that as continuity because they don't have a continuity.
Mhm.
They've already been very open about the fact that they are now doing what's called the Worlds of DC. They announced this well over 2 years ago. The DCEU is dead well over 2 years ago. Um, it's all now a multiverse where things live in their own worlds, they live in their own universes, but have the option to cross over if they so choose. Um, and I know people are bitching that, well, why are the new Justice League is going to have Supergirl and Batgirl as the Superman and Batman. They're gonna erase. No, the reason they're not doing another Batman in that universe is because we're getting Robert Pattinson's Batman, which by all accounts looks fucking
Really
phenomenal.
good.
And so you don't do another Batman on top of that. And you're still going to have Michael Keaton's Batman there as a kind of Nick Fury mentor kind of role. As
Mm.
far as Supergirl goes, they've never known what to do with Superman. Like WB for some reason just doesn't have any clue how to handle the Man of Steel. They just don't, and they really haven't since they fired Richard Donner during Superman 2
Mm.
way back in their very early 80s. So like ever since then they've not known what to do with Superman. And
Mm-hmm.
even when you get a good film, like I love Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel is a phenomenal film, and Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. But they just don't know what to do with it. And
Didn't Cavill say that he would return as Superman if they
he
asked?
literally has the costume in his closet. Like he
Gotcha.
has said
That's
that
cool.
multiple times. The cape is
Yeah.
ready. He would come back. But the fact is that Warner Brothers, they tried too hard to not be Marvel. Then they tried too
Mm-hmm.
hard to be Marvel in the MCU. And now they're
Yeah.
going back to not being that. And they just don't know what they want to do. They can't
They
quite
want to
figure it
make
out.
more money. That's what they
Yeah.
want to do.
Um, they tried to make Zack Snyder into Kevin Feige, and that was never going to work.
Mm.
Part of what makes Kevin Feige great is not only is he a fanboy of Marvel, he's been a producer for Marvel for a very long time before starting the MCU.
Mm.
He's been very entrenched in the films going back to early X-Men films and early Raimi Spider-Man films. He's been there. He has seen what to do, what not to do, and he was always a producer, not a director that was brought in to be a producer. Whereas Zack Snyder is a director, and a director obviously has their own style, and so when trying to produce a universe, you're going to make that entire universe in your style. The difference is
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Feige is a producer who works
Mm-hmm.
with many different directors and has his whole career. So he doesn't have one particular style. He trusts the directors he hires. And that's what's been one of the greatest things about Marvel is that you look through it, yes, there's a formula to the MCU, but at the same time, every film is unique. Every film you can tell it's the director getting a chance to be a true director. So,
Mm.
worst part
Worst
of the
part.
Disney is like they already have a good series of movies. They just don't know how to do it. Yeah, the animated stuff is phenomenal,
Yeah.
and part of the reason why is because the person that is the producer of the animated stuff isn't a director. Like he is just a producer. And the person in charge of their animated stuff has let the directors and writers be artists instead of trying to control the narrative. And I think maybe you can understand that. But another reason I say that they're not deleting that, and it leads into our topic today, Zack Snyder is also the lead producer on James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. If they erase everything Snyder did, they have to erase what is their most successful as far as like fan critique. They have to erase what is their most successful film in The Suicide Squad. Um, it may not have made the most money, but that's because it came out during a pandemic, and it also got the restored a Snyderverse toxic fandom played a small part in that as well. But we won't get into that.
Yeah. So maybe this will serve as a good transition into Suicide Squad. But for me, um, what I love the most about the MCU movies is that each movie has a feel for that character. That character drives the mood and the themes of those movies, and it's the character work that really stands out. And when you put them all together, um, they do come in unison as opposed to the DC movies where it does have one vision from the director being the main style. Um, so in part why Suicide Squad is so successful is because it is a character ensemble show. that
Well,
works really well, as opposed to being, or as opposed to trying to be too hard to be a successful superhero movie and not paying attention to the character development. So,
well, I think one of the worst things that Disney ever did is also one of the best things they ever did, and that was fire James Gunn.
mm,
So this all started because James Gunn got fired by Disney because some alt right fanatic went back and pulled up over decades old tweets where James Gunn made a bunch of like pedophile jokes.
mm,
Now, here's the thing about that, and this is where Disney was definitely wrong. When he got hired on to do the first Guardians of the Galaxy, he already had to publicly apologize for those tweets. Disney had done their homework.
mm-hmm.
But because this person came out and literally made a campaign against James Gunn because James Gunn was very much anti-Trump, uh, they're like, well, this is now trending. We got to do something, and they reacted instead of acted. And so they panicked, react, and they fired him. Now he's been brought back. He is doing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as well as the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Um, but this will also most likely be it for James Gunn in the MCU. Whereas before he got fired, he was actually going to be the head of the cosmic side of the MCU storytelling. Because he had done such a good job with the Guardians of the Galaxy and helped establish the cosmic realm for the MCU. But then WB was in a position where Justice League had tanked hard. The Whedon Justice League had tanked super hard. They didn't know what to do. You also had David Ayer's Suicide Squad tank. And they immediately saw an opportunity to snag up this MCU director, and they just gave him carte blanche. Yes, there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Literally, it's kind of a tribute to the Star Wars holiday special that is so bad it is now one of those things that people watch literally because it's that bad. Um, but yes, they are doing it. It should come out, I believe, December of this year. I believe.
Mm.
But so Warner Brothers, they snagged him up and said, "Look, what property do you want to do? We'd like, can you reboot Suicide Squad?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, they're like, "Do whatever character you want. You have full carte blanche. You can kill whoever you want. Like, we don't care. We're not going to interfere. It is your movie. Do what you want." Like, Warner Brothers was at such the end of their rope that it was the perfect timing for James Gunn. And we got this quasi sequel / soft reboot of the Suicide Squad from James Gunn. And he delivered. As far as I'm concerned, this is James Gunn's magnum opus. This is his tour de force. This is his Citizen Kane. Just phenomenal. It was just, to me, the purest comic book film there ever could have been. It is a comic book truly come to life. And and when I say that, there's film like if you go back and watch like the Raimi Spider-Man films, Raimi was very careful, especially in the first and second ones, to really make them very comic book esque. Like even like there's transitions that are comic book panel transitions, and it's shot in a way that looks very comic booky, but that world didn't feel real. Like it felt like a fake New York. It felt like a just like New York adjacent. It just didn't feel quite real. It
Are you
felt
talking
like
about Into the Spider Verse?
no. I'm talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans.
Okay, okay.
And I'm not counting Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because that's animated.
Okay.
I think all animated. It's very easy to make an animated comic book movie because you're taking the medium of page art and making it just move. You're making the comic book move versus it's harder to make a live action comic book film.
I completely disagree. We're at the and I understand that, but like I completely disagree because we are at the point with technology and CGI and stylistic choices that we've seen in several DC and MCU movies where and they show it in Suicide Squad. They use CGI to mimic that comic book feel. Um,
Yes,
but
but
so when you say that this is the most comic booky feeling superhero movie, to me, The Amazing Spider-Man it tops Suicide Squad in that regard.
you're talking about the Andrew Garfields.
Oh, sorry. Into the Spider Verse.
Yeah.
See,
Well, no, but see, I don't count. Like, I'm not counting animated
I know,
movies
but I do.
because, and the reason I say that is because as advanced as we are in CGI, there's still so much that we can't do that you can do animated. And animated is literally just a comic book that moves. It is drawn just like a comic book is, but you're just putting motion to it. So I don't count that. Now, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is one of the best films ever. Just period. Like it was so unique. It was so well done. Even on the animated spectrum, phenomenal film. Um, but when I'm talking live action, because even with the advances in CGI, like first of all, do you know that the Suicide Squad used a brand new camera that had
Hmm.
never been used before? It's called Red, RED. I forgot what the and
Red is not a brand new camera. Red was used for the Hobbit movies.
no, not this rig. There's actually if you look at the special features,
Okay.
it's a new version of Red. They do talk about how they did use it in Hobbit and different things, but this is a new version of it. They've shrunk it down because the Red is the Red that was used in Hobbit.
It's a massive camera.
It's a massive
Yes.
camera. They've now made it this big.
Okay.
It's literally one of the smallest cameras ever used
Hmm.
in a film
Hmm.
of that quality. And there's a whole special feature on HBO Max. If you watch it, they show it,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what helped. Ooh, excuse me. That's kind of what helped in being able to shoot it, and they were doing things that had never been able to be done before. But the
I
other
totally
reason,
understand. I understand the separate the distinction between live action and animation. I still hold Into the Spider Verse in very high regard because it takes a lot of it takes a lot of effort to ground you in the realism of the story and the emotion of the characters. Of
oh
course,
yeah,
everything is stylized and drawn and animated, but it still is based off of human beings.
oh absolutely, no, there's. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that at all. That is not at all what I'm saying. Like I said, I think that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is one of the best movies that's ever been done
Mm,
with a comic book character. Like, I think that it's definitely it to me is still the best Spider-Man movie ever made.
mm.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to me is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. But part of that is you couldn't have made that same movie live action. Is what I'm saying.
I think
That
it would take so much work to make it live action, but it
I
could be
just don't
done.
think it would have worked. We don't have the technology to have made that work. We
Okay.
have the people that could have acted it,
Mm,
mainly just take the cast that did the voicing. Most of that cast could have translated right directly into those characters.
mm-hmm.
But most of them, there's some that maybe not, but um,
Yeah. But yeah, just Suicide Squad being the best live action.
yeah, for sure. But
But
Bob makes a great point. I feel that the distinction is important because in animation you can do literally anything you can imagine it. Yeah, you can break the laws of physics beyond what CGI can do in
mm,
animation. At this point, now there will come a time we're getting much closer in CGI to where we can get away. To a point there will be a time when live action and animation are on the same level as far as what you can do, but we're not
yeah.
there yet. Um, and like so much so that you still have issues with like de-aging somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Spider-Man No Way Home, most of the de-aging looks phenomenal, but there are a couple moments where it's a little off-putting.
It pulls you out of it.
And that's
Yeah.
also the uncanny valley problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what another part of what made uh, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse so great. Kingpin looked like he was 9 feet wide
Yeah.
and 9 feet tall. Like if you were to put that in live action, it would look insane.
Mm.
It just wouldn't work. And so there, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and like when it comes to live action, to me, the Suicide Squad is the most, like I said, the most just the truest form of a comic book come to life on screen as far as live action goes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the DC animated movies are legit incredible comic book movies. Like the
Mm-hmm.
DC, like what DC animated has done is
Yeah.
just up there.
Flashpoint.
Oh my god, Flashpoint
Justice League
Paradox,
Unlimited.
Under the Red Hood,
Yeah.
um, just there's so many of them. Like I've
Yeah.
watched, I can't like Justice League War, Public Enemies, you know,
Mm.
all there's a ton. There's literally a ton. You can go to HBO Max and watch most of them.
Yeah.
Apparently, I just had a
So,
stroke right in the middle of talking.
well,
Do you smell toast? I smell toast. But
what was your favorite stylistic choice in Suicide Squad in terms of creating that comic book feel?
you know what? For me, honestly, it was the chapter titles.
That's my number two. My number one is the slow motion.
Yeah, there was some really good slow motion in it, but for me, those chapter titles
Yeah.
were just it just made it feel so much like a comic book. And the
Yeah.
thing is, most comic books don't have chapters like that. Like it's just that's not even a
Mhm.
thing in comic books. It's really not, but it just
Yeah.
made it feel like it was.
Yeah.
And like my favorite of all time out of the ones is the Jotunheim one,
Mhm.
where they're looking over the top of that roof and it says Jotunheim, and as they pan over, it's one of those like art depth perception style arts
Uh-huh.
where like if you're looking at it straight on, it spells something or it shapes something, but then as you
Mhm.
look at it, everything's in like different. It's all at like different levels. Hey, Blink,
It's
chapter concept was
blank.
ago. I coughed, had a stroke, and now I have something stuck in the back of my teeth.
Oh no.
I had Subway for dinner though.
Over here on TikTok, Ven Skywalker says Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is the animated magnum opus for me. I have yet to see it.
That one is really good. Yeah, yeah, Justice. That one is oof. That one's rough. Um, that one is
So,
it's similar. Actually, that I would say that animated movie is similar in tone to this Suicide Squad, except
mm,
for no humor. So
mm.
imagine just all the depth and emotional depth of this movie,
Yeah,
but without humor. That's what
nice.
that movie is. It's
Job
really good,
fed.
but
Maybe
maybe
because
because the
the
chapters make
chapters.
it feel like different issues in a way. Yeah, maybe almost like a
Yeah.
graphic novel, like a collection, like a series. Um,
I wish that there was an Act One and an Act Two separation in in the Suicide Squad movie because there definitely is a change of tone in the first and second half. But I mean, the chapters there pretty much do that anyway, to help aid with the
yeah,
transition
I
from
do feel like
each
the
second.
chapters do a good job with changing the
Yeah.
tone too.
Hmm.
Because if you really, like I said, I watched it again today, just kind of like to refresh my memory. I've watched it a dozen times now, but it's been about a month or two since I watched it, so I refreshed myself. Each
Hmm.
chapter really does kind of give its own feel and tone.
Yeah.
I also like how James Gunn didn't shy away from the very beginning of the movie, just slapping you in the face with the fact that one, this is going to be gory.
Yeah.
This is going to be the Suicide Squad of the '70s,
Yeah.
because the Suicide Squad in the '70s was actually, I mean, not nearly as gory because they had just started um, really started to like crack down on things in comic books, but it was
Hmm.
still up there. Like, characters did die. But the other thing was that nobody was safe.
Yeah.
And the fact that Captain Boomerang dies right there in the beginning
Yeah.
was huge.
I know. I love Captain Boomerang so much.
Well, especially since, he if you look at the marquee, like in the credits and in the thing, oh, my camera's frozen.
You're fine.
Give me a
It
second.
set it up for him to be there, and I was like, "What?" This movie does such a great job at setting those expectations again and again and again, only to crush you.
Yeah, come on. What is going on?
Mm. You just have an intense stare. No worries.
Yeah, I'm just
Yes,
having,
it's
yeah.
blank.
I'm really pondering something. No, but now
Yeah.
like Zoom won't come up either.
And normally I am really good at predicting those plot points. And there were some here and there that I got, but again, like this movie does such a good job
Crappy
of
camera.
of making me think,
And give
oh
me a
hey, it's
second.
good.
Hang on, guys. Sorry. We'll get there. Give me a second.
Does a great job of going, hey, we're gonna lead you in this direction. Nope. That's a great photo of you, by the way.
Thanks.
Someone's got to say it.
Come on. What is going on? All right.
Ruh-roh.
Hold on a second, guys.
Please hold. We have some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on.
Mm. Ruh-roh.
All right. Let's do this. Hold on a second. Keep talking.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so I don't think that I don't think I know for a fact that I am not the targeted audience for this movie. Because the targeted audience is young men who love gore and video games and these characters. There were a couple moments here and there with Harley designed for women, so that's the fuck yeah, strong, empowered women, you know, kind
Why
of a
am I
moment.
not even seeing your camera now?
Uh oh. I
This
can
is
see me.
this is weird.
Can y'all see me? Anywho.
Hang on. Let's do this. Switch to speaker. So there's Lily.
Oh, now I'm gone. Rutro. Well, I'm just gonna keep talking anyway. We're here for a good time. But um but yeah, I definitely am not the target audience. I love I think that they did the gore and the comedy so well, even though it's not my favorite thing. Like I recognize that it was really, really, really well done. Um, to going back to like the slow mo and the stylistic choices to make this feel more comic booky. One of my favorite slow mo moments is when the Polka Dot Man throws the polka dots and they hit the bag of explosives. And then
Yeah.
Harley jumps over. Like, just looking at the polka dots and all of those colors, I was like, yeah, you could definitely see that in a comic book frame. Oh, by the way, Polka Dot Man, my favorite character in the Suicide Squad.
Well, hold
Um,
that thought. Here's what we're going to
uh-huh.
do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hit the BRB button. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to close this Zoom, start a new Zoom, and we'll be right back. So give us like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I'm
let
still here on TikTok.
yeah. So BRB guys.
Hehe.
Okay, we're back.
Sweet.
That was weird. I don't know what happened. It was Zoom. Zoom froze, which has never happened. That was weird. But we're back. So, anyways,
Back.
yeah, Polka Dot Man I thought was very interesting, and that's doubly so because I understand the character a little bit. Um, yeah, fuck Zuckerberg. Um,
Wait a second. It still shows um the hold on page on Twitch.
yeah, you remember Twitch is delayed. Give it a
Ah,
second.
I see.
Hey,
Sorry.
Tio.
Everyone's back. Hey, hey,
Tio,
hey,
welcome,
it's
welcome, welcome.
Theo. Welcome, welcome.
So Polka Dot Man as a character has been around for ages,
Mhm.
ages. I believe at least the '60s is when he started. I'm actually gonna look it up real quick.
Hmm.
If I can get my mouse to work, come on,
Uh-huh.
come on. Let me look up Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man.
While you're doing that, so it's interesting that they mentioned that his mother worked at Star Labs. Of course, that's where the Flash.
1962. He appeared in Detective Comics 300 in 1962, created by Bill Finger, who is the legit true creator of Batman, not Bob Kane, but we won't talk about that. Um, but yeah, um, he doesn't have much of a huge, like a real backstory. I know, like it's kind of been
Mm-hmm.
fleshed out since, but he got a chance to. So James Gunn did have a lot of leeway with the character, and so yeah, his mother worked at Star Labs, experimented on her own kids to make them superheroes, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I know the original Polka Dot Man, his powers were not interdimensional in the slightest.
Hmm.
I think it was just a technology he had developed.
Hmm.
Um, because there wasn't really anything interdimensional back in the '60s. Like they weren't diving that deep into comic books at the time.
Yeah.
But
I
I
don't think
think,
they were even aware of how big space was back then,
yeah, we
or
hadn't
the
been to the moon yet.
possibility that there could be multiple dimensions.
Yeah,
But alas,
yeah, they were just. It was just technology at the time.
yeah. Who's your favorite Suicide Squad member in this movie?
I really did like Polka Dot Man a lot. I thought that David uh, Das Malkin did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was great. I fell in love with Ratcatcher too, like her character,
Yes.
um, the heart of the
Stunning.
movie. And James Gunn had actually talked about, and I think they even filmed an ending where she was killed.
Mm.
And he's just like, nope, too dark, can't do it. And if James
Yeah.
Gunn says it's too dark, that's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Um, I
Favorite
yeah,
character moments.
favorite character moments.
I'll start with Peacemaker when they are in the bar. Did you pay attention to his dance moves?
Yeah, no, that was great. Um, I actually like Peacemaker was a very interesting character arc for me in this film. Watching it again, and now knowing he's going to get his own series where they're going to basically kind of redeem the character in a way that's he's really a douche. Um, but like there were times when you're watching this, and of course he's being a dick the whole time because he is a douche. But like there's little moments where you're just like, oh man, he really is a good guy. Like, hey, you forgot the rat when they order drinks, and
Exactly.
he winked at her and stuff like that, and like him crying after killing Rick Flag.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which by the way, that death shocked me. Um,
I was really sad that we lost him in this movie. I
yeah.
personally
At
was.
the same time, I actually like again watching it this time around. Like at first, I was like, "Oh man, I really wished I hadn't killed him off." But
Mm.
then after this, watching it again, I realized that
It's kind of a passing of the torch.
kind of, but also at the same time, he was kind of two dimensional. And like, I hated Rick Flag in the first Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
He was so blind. He was kind of like Peacemaker and blind to serving his country. But in this one, he's still kind of in that same realm of being blind to serving the country and serving Amanda Waller.
Mm.
And then suddenly, when he finds out that that America was partially behind Operation Start, he immediately just the flip was too quick. for
Yeah,
me.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like with the amount of time we're given with this movie to see those moments of character growth and bonding between the members, it's like I wanted a little more time for that scene to see Flag process that and internalize it and
Yeah.
go, fuck this, you
Yeah,
know?
like wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That whole like I didn't join the military to be a puppet.
And I get what you mean by like two dimensional.
Yeah, like but you're
But
dude,
that's
like dude,
kind of a key character
you've been a
trait for being in the Suicide Squad, given how freaking nasty Amanda Waller is, and that's something that they did do very well
yeah,
in
can
this
we
movie. Is
talk
show,
about Viola Davis
yeah,
being one of the best actors on the planet
yes,
and should have gotten an Oscar nod for this movie? Holy crap. Like just ridiculously intense and
the moment where she goes, "You don't know half the things I would do." For whatever the second half of that is, I was like, damn.
yeah, like
She threatens to murder a teenage girl. She is constantly blackmailing well, I mean all of it is a blackmail setup. Like you die or you complete this mission. Um
I think that
oh, what
falls
was
under
it later?
extortion.
Yeah.
But
Just but that's an accurate telling of who she is in the comic books too. It's
yeah,
just like seeing
she
it live action, you're like, holy shit.
it's crazy because um Bob, thank you for the follow. You get a dancing penguin.
Yay.
Um Amanda Waller and Viola Davis's performance, like to me, the scene that really stands out was when Bloodsport and the rest of the team turned their back and decided to go fight Starro, and
Mm-hmm.
she was threatening like her that really intense like that felt like something out of something like they just felt like out of something like out of like an Oscar worthy film. Like just like that
Yeah.
moment was just like it was so intense. You felt it,
I
and
was so happy that they hit her in the back of the head. I was
but
like,
also you
fuck yeah.
felt like because she seems like a character with no morals, just goal oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But like in that moment, you could tell she didn't want to do it, but
Well,
she is so staunch in her convictions that she's going to do it. But she didn't want to kill any of them. Like when she blew up Savant's head, which by the way,
mm,
I don't know how Michael Rooker is James Gunn's best friend because James Gunn kills him in everything.
yeah,
Everything? Everything.
everything.
The fact that he made it out of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie alive is a testament to something. Um,
Yeah.
but like even then she's just like, "Hey, you're deserting, don't do it." But she, open it up, hit the button. There wasn't it wasn't so much a pause, it was more of giving him a chance to turn around.
But honestly, like I read into that as her going, how much of a team am I going to lose? I'm like really fucking myself over because this is the best of the best that I've got right now, as opposed to her being like, ugh, I don't want to kill them, you know? I
But
didn't
the
read
thing is like
that as being
Amanda Waller
a
knows that there's tons of criminals out there. She can keep and they kind of play it up that her and Batman have like a very like rough and tentative partnership
mm,
in the first Suicide Squad movie.
mm-hmm.
And so but she also knows that there's more criminals out there that can be caught and be brought in. They are expendable. And she also feels they're expendable because they're criminals. Like so for her it's just like, I'm doing the world a favor, but she also there's that moment it's just like it wasn't so much about losing the team that's really good. It was more about just like the people in that office, they had kind of like they were doing the right thing.
And they questioned it before. They questioned
They they were
her.
doing the right thing by saving those people.
Yeah,
And she had to face that in that moment because she
yeah.
was telling them that the mission was over. But here was the one thing I didn't get in that scene. Letting Starro take out Corto Martiz and not letting them stop Starro. It's just leaving this gigantic kaiju alien alive in the ability to build an army who could then attack the rest of the world, including
Yeah.
America. So that I thought was a little bit on her end. I thought that was a little weird, but she knew they were doing the right thing, and I think that was the conflict in her head. Was this
Mm-hmm.
like I have to kill these people now because they're not following my orders, but they're doing the right thing. And
Mhm.
technically, in the military, you do not follow an unconstitutional or unethical order. And by letting people die, that's unethical. Um, so they were doing the right thing.
Mhm.
I also did appreciate um, uh, even the growth in the people in that office,
Mhm.
because in the
Which we're
beginning,
going to see more of in
yeah. Which,
the.
oh, real quick, so the guy in the office, the big dude, beard, glasses.
Uh-huh.
He was the one who did all the motion capture for King Shark,
Nice.
but it's Sylvester Stallone who does the voice,
Uh-huh.
which I love. But yeah, so we're gonna see him. We're gonna see Jennifer Holland, which is James Gunn's girlfriend. She's the
Mhm.
blonde, and we're gonna
Mhm.
see some new people in Peacemaker coming up, and that whole post-credit scene of him being found alive. Which I remember watching the movie, and I watched him get shot, and I did like the callback of the smaller bullet
Uh-huh.
after their conversation in prison. But I was like, oh, so Peacemaker must be a prequel series.
Hmm.
So that was my thought until the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Um, but their growth, because you saw them in the beginning with the first team, the distraction team, the diversion team, literally the cannon fodder team. Yeah, Stallone is always great. Um, People fail to realize that guy's an Oscar winner, and for writing, he's
I
not
think
like
he
just a
did.
dumb jock that everybody thinks he is.
No.
He
Not at
wrote
all.
Rocky and won an Oscar for it. Um, but they were betting on who was going to die first. Like they didn't give two shits about any of them. Like they're to
Mhm.
them, and in their mind too, they're criminals, so
Mhm.
they're expendable.
Yeah.
They've done terrible things, so why should we care about their life?
Yeah.
And then again, they're still criminals, but they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we can't let the island, all these people in Corto Martese. That's what she says. Like all those children.
Because it
Like,
comes down to the greater good.
yeah. So I like that too. I thought that was really good. Um, and I like that it was the golf club that the woman hit her with.
Yeah.
They set that up perfectly because she's just putting into that glass. Like, oh, I gotta play golf with Senator Gray,
Yeah.
and it feels like just something that like a bureaucrat would do. And it was actually to set up the fact that there was a weapon to hit her with. So I did like that. That's keen writing to me. I like that.
Do you have any insight into what we're going to see with the Peacemaker series? Besides the obvious in the trailers.
Actually, no.
Okay.
Um, he's talked a lot about it and yet not really said anything.
Huh.
And I think James Gunn has always been the best at that. I mean,
Hmm.
hell, there's an Easter egg in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie that we still not found.
Hmm.
Um, he's really good about like hyping up something without telling you anything.
Hmm.
Um, I can tell you that like this latest trailer is makes me feel completely different than what the series was going to be from the first trailer. Um, I don't know what to expect. I know that we've not seen the villain. Like we've seen villains that they're going to fight, but we've not
Hmm.
seen the villain because whatever it is a save the world event. Like that's literally what this is about.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know.
Well, I
But
mean, at the very least, we know that there's going to be some conversation around this internal conflict of what really is the right thing, coming to terms with childhood trauma and all that shit, because we know he visits his father and whatnot.
yeah,
In
played by
terms of,
Robert Patrick, man.
I
Oh,
know.
T1000. What? Um, I
Yeah.
love Robert Patrick. That dude's awesome.
I'm excited for that though, for because I'm always going to be leaning on the character development as opposed to the spectacle of it all. So, but that's me.
Well,
Tell me something.
yeah. Um, James Gunn is one of those directors and writers that he's kind of like Christopher Nolan in that he puts his friends in movies. Like he
Mhm.
uses the same people a lot. Again, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, who played the detachable kid.
Mhm.
Um, I love that Flula Borg was in it.
Yeah.
Love Flula. I love Flula. If none of y'all have seen it, he has two Try Not to Laugh appearances for Smosh that are just insanely funny.
He was also in
Um,
Pitch Perfect.
yeah, he's in Pitch. Like he's done a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. He's an amazing
Yeah.
dude. Really funny. Uh, Pete Davidson, the Human Tripod. Um, he was in it. Got his face blown off right there. Um, of course, James's brother Sean is the one who does the motion capture for Weasel.
Nice.
Um, again, it kind of sucks to be same. Adam Sandler does the same thing. You're right, Bob.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of sucks to be friends with James Gunn, or related. Because Sean Gunn, not only played Kraglin and it plays Kraglin in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he also does the motion capture for Rocket and Groot. Like that, I promise you, he's not paid extra. Um, but having to squat, and be that, or like having to act weird, and of course we did see Sean Gunn as Calendar Man in the movie as
Hmm.
well. For the whole hey Polka Dot, I want you to play my kid's birthday party.
Uh huh.
Um, that was the thing that you did see if you really pay attention to the prison scenes. There's a lot of like really cool nods to other D-list villains.
Uh huh.
I thought that was cool. There's just a lot of cool stuff, and so um, the Peacemaker series, I don't know we're gonna get as much of that as far as like the cool little nods, other things, but we're getting Vigilante, who is another villain slash anti-hero in DC that's again D-list. Um, I forgot there is one guy you do see them fighting who keeps kicking their ass. I can't remember who it is, the villain off the top of my head, but there's gonna be some cool stuff. Um, so it'll be really interesting to see. Plus, this will be a nice juxtaposition to, like, say Robert Pattinson's The Batman in March,
Yeah.
because that is a very dark and very serious film, a film noir, really.
Yeah.
But I also think that lends so much credibility if Warner Brothers can get their own head of their ass to the worlds of DC approach,
Hmm.
because you have these villains and these characters that are maybe not all Batman related, but they do interact with Batman quite often. But you have it in this very colorful and comic booky James Gunn style. And then you have Matt Reeves, the Batman, which is very film noir. It's very dark. It's very serious. You have a serial killer Riddler. Um, or is it the Riddler? We don't know. Because there is talk that it's actually Hush. There's a whole thing. Um, so that'll be interesting to see. And then
Hmm.
on top of that, we've got Aquaman 2, and we've got Shazam 2, and we've got Flash coming out. Like, and everything has its own feel. So if they do it correctly and not worry so much about trying to make everything tie in together and just let the movies stand on their own, they're gonna be okay.
This is way too early to like even be thinking about, but I want to say I'm looking forward to at the end of the year going, would it have been better if they changed the order of the release dates? How would that change our perception of these characters, the world as a whole, and whatnot? Because we already talked about that a little bit with, say, Loki and WandaVision and
Well, yeah, because Falcon and Winter Soldier was actually supposed to be before WandaVision.
and Multiverse of Madness was supposed to be one of the first things, but
Yeah.
that's now towards the end of it all. So, anywho, excited for that. When is the release date for Peacemaker again
Next Thursday, January 13th.
on HBO Max?
HBO Max, yes. And I
Thank
believe they're going to do it weekly. I don't think they're going to release the whole series at once.
Mm,
Um, I think there's 8 episodes.
mm,
I know James Gunn did 5 of them,
mm.
and I believe it's 8 episodes. Um, which should get us close to the Batman release date, which would be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Um, so next week, hopefully by next week, Lily feels good enough to go out to go see Spider-Man, and we can talk Spider-Man.
I know, right?
Hopefully we
We
can
gotta
talk
make it
Spider-Man
happen.
next week. And then we'll talk Peacemaker the week after that. Um, hopefully she can get a chance to see it in time. Um, but there's this year is going to be very interesting. Not only from like Marvel is already really diving into Phase 4, and it's really about to open up with Doctor Strange 2 and all that. But
Hmm.
this year should be very interesting for Warner Brothers and DC. Rumors aside, yes, Bob, she has not seen it yet. You can blame a lot of that on COVID though, and some scares at
Yeah.
the house and holidays and family
Final
time.
exam,
Yeah.
all that.
Well, your final exams were done when the movie came out. Remember, it didn't come out to the 17th.
Oh, right. I finished finals on the
Yeah.
15th. Anyhow.
So your finals were done, so you can't use that as an excuse. But no,
I spent a
family.
solid 3 days just sleeping.
Yeah.
Just recuperating from all that stress. But anywho, yeah,
But
I
yeah.
definitely need to go see Spider-Man in theaters. I just haven't because of safety precautions, given that I have two relatives right now in the same house as
Yeah,
me that
you were
have
like
COVID.
legit. She was going to go see it last week,
Yeah.
and then that morning found out that two family members in the same house had COVID. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
all right, can't go out and endanger people.
Yeah.
Um, so right call. But hopefully she'll get a chance to see it before next Wednesday.
Yeah.
That'll give her a week. That should be good.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully that's what we'll talk about again this week. I know that we covered it on this podcast, back with my friend Michael, aka Superhero Talk. But getting Lily's perspective on it will be really good to talk about. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting for sure.
And with
Um,
that,
but yeah, again, just a quick wrap up. This is going to be very interesting for comic book movies in general, but I think for DC and Warner Brothers, this is a defining year. Um, they can really get their head out of their ass and just make some good movies and not worry so much about being like Marvel. I think they'll be okay.
mm,
And they're doing like Peacemaker is a good kickoff, I think. I think it's going to be a great series. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then to follow that up with something that's very different in the Batman, which also looks phenomenal. I think it'll be a good start for them. So we'll see how it goes.
yeah.
On that note, we're going to wrap this up a little bit early tonight, because again, somebody is sick, and I also am tired, guys. I've been up since 4 a.m.
Oof.
and I'm old.
Man, make smarter decisions.
It wasn't by choice. It was not by choice. Trust me.
Yeah, I feel you
Not
there.
at all by choice. All of a sudden, I woke up at 4 and I'm like, no, no, no. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today. We will be back next week. Um, please like, subscribe, follow on Twitch, YouTube, the whole nine. We love you guys. And as always, you can find us if you look right there on the screen. There are our socials. So come find us. We love you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye.